Witcher, 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 there's fish people drowning our sheep in the river!
Sounds like drowners. Gonna need spicy mayo.
Okay.
Oil my blade. Witcher magic for every occasion. Killing monsters is what I do.
Okay, can you hurry?
Witcher! A vampire ate my mom!
A Dracula needs garlic butter.
And I guess bringing in a new White Wolf at this point in the season, a bold move and a tall order for Liam.
And of course, he wanted to honor the character that had already been set up, because he knows that he's stepping into a role. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure that his performance was authentic, that it felt like him, that he wasn't playing and mimicking anything. And so
let's just say the reaction is exactly what we expected. It is getting completely and totally annihilated by the fans. In fact, season 4 earned series low Rotten Tomatoes score as Liam Hemsworth's Geralt arrives on Netflix.
I'm the most annoying guy on set because I'm saying, excuse me, you do realize that this should be happening and they wouldn't do that, and you haven't read this, that means this would be impossible. And everyone's just going, Henry, just shut up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the thing because he wouldn't do it this way, and he can do it.
And that's where you start to get more uncomfortable when you're thinking, there's not a...
The Witcher was supposed to be 7 seasons, but it was abruptly cut down to 5 after Henry Cavill left, and Lauren Hissrich is lucky she got that. But she does say, are there more stories? Maybe. Well, actually, there's a lot because you skipped them, but this one has to end at this point. So I think it's a nice time for all of us to step back a little bit. And that probably has a lot to do with the audience stepping back a long time ago.
It was posted last night. Netflix's Q2 report came out, and apparently they lost 1 million subscribers in the second quarter of this year, which we already saw that at the beginning of the year, they lost 200,000. The next month, they lost another couple 100,000, and they had projected that they were going to lose a couple million over the next few months. I don't really think people believed it, but it happened.
Millions of people are canceling their Netflix subscriptions. Why Netflix stock is absolutely tanking right now. I mean, it is just collapsing totally in the red. And you can see that it is on a massive downward slope this month. It's cratering. Why is that happening?
And you have a sense that you're going, is this really necessary?
I watched about 40 minutes of the first episode, and I ended up texting Gary. And I just said, dude, I cannot do this. I'm 40 odd minutes in. I'm done. I've had enough. This is utter.
As the years have gone by, Netflix's Witcher series has gotten worse and worse. Recasts, rewrites, moving further away from the source material has truly damaged this show to the point of no return. There's no way that they could save it going into the last season. But now that season 4 is out and we only have 1 more to go, this show is basically hated by everybody.
Let me ask you guys something. Are you excited for Witcher season 4?
Isn't it out right now on Netflix?
Just coming out, and the reviews have started to drop. So
because I looked on Rotten Tomatoes, and bear in mind, given the backlash, I would expect a little bit of review bombing. So people who haven't seen it but who hate the concept. Oh no, you're behind, Drinker.
Is it changed?
It's down to 17.
Henry Cavill just did something no one saw coming. He confronted the creators of The Witcher face-to-face after Netflix made another shocking decision that left fans stunned. Season 4 had barely been out for a few weeks, released on October 30th, when chaos hit the fandom all over again.
Witcher, a ghoul,
Sesame glaze,
bear man,
honey mustard,
werewolf,
honey mustard,
no,
honey mustard,
thieving,
lemon pepper,
rat boy,
honey mustard.
Witcher, we's catching snails.
That would be French onion.
Liam Hemsworth's debut as Geralt was supposed to be a bold new chapter, but instead, it turned into one of Netflix's biggest embarrassments. From the moment the first trailer dropped, people were skeptical, and after the full season went live, the reactions were savage.
My job? Kill monsters. Get coin. Use coin on McDonald's app. Get points. Use points to get free McChicken. Only 1,500 points. Every dollar spent is 100 points. Constant BOGOs. I always leave with a free McChicken. It's like I'm stealing from them.
stealing. You're a thief. Lemon pepper.
Fans called the new Geralt emotionless, off-brand, even a cosplay gone wrong. Social media exploded with memes comparing Liam's version to Henry's. One felt like a legend, the other like a placeholder. But what came next? No one expected. Just weeks after the backlash peaked, Netflix quietly confirmed that Liam Hemsworth was out, replaced once again for season 5.
I have myself and my team out making great content and acquiring great content, but if 1 out of 10 times you push play it didn't work, we'd be toast.
The announcement sparked confusion, anger, and disbelief. Had Netflix completely lost control of the franchise? And right when the internet thought the drama had peaked, Henry Cavill stepped back into the story. He wasn't supposed to. After all, Henry had already walked away from the role, burned out by creative disagreements and constant changes to the source material. But this time, he wasn't returning as Geralt. He was returning to call them out. According to insiders, Henry personally confronted the show's creators, accusing them of blaming the wrong person for the show's failure. In his words, the problem was never Liam. It was the story. That one line lit the internet on fire. Fans who had begged for Henry's comeback were suddenly rallying behind him again, not as Geralt, but as the one man willing to hold Netflix accountable. And as it turns out, what he said next would shake the entire production from the inside out. Season 4 of The Witcher was supposed to be Netflix's redemption arc, a fresh start after months of backlash. But from the very first episode, fans knew something felt off. The writing felt disconnected, the pacing was strange, and even the tone of the world had changed. Gone was the gritty, lore-rich energy that made the first season so iconic. Instead, it felt like a different show entirely, one trying too hard to be something it wasn't. Liam Hemsworth tried. You could see he was giving it everything, but fans didn't buy it. Social media turned ruthless overnight. Comments flooded in. This isn't Geralt. It feels like a parody. They should have just ended the series when Henry left. Within days, hashtags like Not My Geralt and Bring Back Cavill were trending across Twitter and Reddit. Review sites showed the lowest audience scores in the show's history. The press didn't help either. Headlines read, Netflix's Witcher loses its magic, and Hemsworth fails to fill Cavill's boots. Even casual fans, people who'd never read the books, were turning the show off halfway through episodes. The drop in completion rates was catastrophic. Inside Netflix, panic reportedly started to spread. Executives wanted someone to blame, and Liam became the easy target. But according to people close to production, Henry Cavill saw things differently. When the controversy reached him, he refused to pile on. Instead, he allegedly said to a friend, "You can't expect a new Geralt to work when the soul of the story is gone." And that's when things started to shift. While the internet roasted Liam, Henry stayed quiet, watching as the show he once carried crumbled under the weight of its own creative mistakes. Fans began to realize maybe the real issue wasn't the actor at all. Maybe it was the people writing the story. But Henry wasn't going to stay silent forever, because what came next proved he'd had enough of watching The Witcher fall apart from the sidelines. When reports first broke that Henry Cavill had confronted the creators of The Witcher, most people thought it was fake. But soon, multiple entertainment outlets picked up the same story. Something had gone down behind closed doors. According to those reports, Henry reached out directly to the showrunners after Netflix announced Liam's replacement for season 5. He didn't come to negotiate a comeback. He came to speak his mind. In a private meeting that allegedly took place in early November, Henry told the creative team exactly what millions of fans had been saying for months. You can swap out actors all you want, but it won't fix the story. He told them the franchise had lost touch with what made it special, the respect for the original books, the philosophical depth, the dark tone that drew fans in. What they'd created, he said, was a hollow imitation. One source even described the tension in the room as icy. Henry was calm but savagely honest. He pointed out how season 4 turned into what he called a fantasy soap opera, filled with awkward dialogue and unnecessary plot lines. He questioned why the writers ignored fan feedback and why they kept twisting the lore into something unrecognizable. Then came the line that went viral. Don't replace the actors, replace the writers. When that quote leaked online, the internet exploded. Fans flooded comment sections praising him for saying what everyone was thinking. Henry was no longer just the fan favorite Geralt. He was the voice of the fandom. People started calling him the real Witcher of Hollywood. Meanwhile, Netflix stayed silent. No response, no clarification, nothing. But behind the scenes, executives were furious. They saw Henry's confrontation as a betrayal, yet they couldn't deny the truth in his words, because deep down, everyone knew the writing was the real monster of this story. And as the tension grew, another leak would soon change everything, one that proved Henry's words hit harder than anyone realized. A few days after Henry's confrontation, the story took a wild turn. Out of nowhere, an alleged leaked recording surfaced online. No one knew where it came from. Maybe a staff member, maybe someone from the production team, but it spread like wildfire. The clip, muffled but intense, captured Henry's voice saying what sounded like, "You can't fix a story that's already lost its heart." Fans went absolutely insane. Reddit threads exploded. YouTube channels started breaking down every second of the audio, analyzing tone, background noise, even the echo in the room, trying to confirm if it was real. Whether it was genuine or not didn't even matter anymore. People wanted it to be real, because for fans, that one sentence summed up everything they'd felt since Henry left the series. Soon, hashtags like #HenryWasRight and #SaveTheWitcher were trending. Fans started cutting together clips of Cavill's Geralt side by side with Liam's scenes, captioned with lines from the alleged leak. Every edit, every comparison drove the same message home. The heart of The Witcher left when Henry did. Meanwhile, inside Netflix, things were getting tense. The company tried to downplay the leak, quietly asking media outlets to avoid covering it, but it was too late. The story had legs. Fan pages, entertainment blogs, even mainstream outlets started reporting on the Henry Cavill versus The Witcher drama like it was a Hollywood civil war. And for the first time, the public started to question Netflix's leadership. Was this what creative freedom looked like? Destroying your own show for the sake of ego? Even Liam Hemsworth's defenders were beginning to switch sides. People started realizing the backlash against him wasn't entirely fair. He'd stepped into an impossible role, guided by a creative team that didn't understand what made The Witcher special in the first place. The irony? Henry's confrontation had accidentally done what the show itself couldn't. It united the fandom again. Not around Netflix, not around the new Geralt, but around the idea of what The Witcher was supposed to be. And as fans kept demanding accountability, Netflix made a move that shocked everyone once again, and made the controversy spiral even further out of control. When Netflix announced that Liam Hemsworth had been replaced for season 5, fans didn't even believe it at first. It sounded like satire, like one of those parody headlines people shared just for laughs. But it was real, confirmed through official press statements. Another Geralt, another reboot, another attempt to course correct after the backlash. The reaction was immediate and savage. Fans said Netflix was turning Geralt into a revolving door job. Memes flooded social media. One of the most viral posts said, "At this rate, Geralt's going to have a new face every season." The decision made Netflix look desperate, like they were throwing actors at a sinking ship instead of fixing the holes. And once again, Henry's words came back to haunt them. Don't replace the actors, replace the writers. People started roasting the studio for missing the point entirely. Comment sections under the official announcement were filled with fans quoting Henry, some even joking, maybe hire Cavill as head writer instead. Inside the industry, whispers started spreading. Netflix was panicking. Executives reportedly hoped that a fresh face would give the show another shot at life, but it only made things worse. Viewers saw it as proof that the company had lost touch with its audience. Even worse, rumors started swirling that Liam wasn't told about his replacement until the last minute. Sources claimed he found out only days before the official statement. Whether true or not, that rumor spread like wildfire, painting Netflix as cold and careless. Liam stayed quiet publicly, but insiders said he felt blindsided and insulted. And in the eyes of the fans, that only deepened the drama. Netflix had not only lost Henry, they'd managed to alienate Liam too. Meanwhile, Henry Cavill's name was trending again. His confrontation had aged like prophecy. People started saying things like, Henry saw this coming a mile away, and they should have just listened to him. By this point, The Witcher wasn't just a TV show anymore. It had turned into a full-blown PR disaster. Every attempt to fix it only made things worse. And Henry, whether he meant to or not, had become the voice of reason in a storm of chaos. But the craziest part? He still wasn't done, because after Netflix made their desperate move, Henry decided to speak publicly. And what he said next would completely shift how fans saw the entire saga. After weeks of silence, Henry Cavill finally broke his silence. And when he did, the internet went absolutely wild. It started subtly. A simple Instagram post with a black and white photo of Henry, no fancy graphics, no PR filters, just a quote that read, "Don't blame the actors, blame the storytellers." That was it. No tags, no hashtags, nothing else. But within minutes, it spread like wildfire. Fans knew exactly what he meant. The timing was perfect. Netflix had just confirmed Liam's replacement, and audiences were still reeling from the backlash. Henry's single sentence hit harder than any official statement ever could. The comment section blew up instantly. Thousands of fans flooded in, thanking him for saying what they'd been screaming for months. Finally, someone said it. He's protecting the art, not his ego. Henry Cavill is Geralt, on and off screen. Even major media outlets picked up the post within hours. Entertainment sites ran headlines like, "Henry Cavill throws shade at Netflix," and "Cavill breaks silence on Witcher disaster." But the thing was, Henry didn't need to say names. Everyone already knew who the message was for. In interviews that followed, he stayed composed but firm. When a reporter asked if he regretted leaving The Witcher, he smiled slightly and said, "I'll always be grateful for the time I had as Geralt, but respect for the source material, that's something I'll never compromise on." That line became the new rallying cry for fans who'd long accused Netflix of ignoring the original books. It wasn't just what Henry said, it was how he said it. Calm, confident, and grounded. No anger, no bitterness, just quiet authority. It reminded everyone why they loved him in the first place. He wasn't chasing attention, he was standing by his principles. Meanwhile, Netflix tried to spin the situation with PR statements about creative vision and new artistic directions, but no one was buying it. Every time they spoke, Henry's simple post gained even more traction. Fans began flooding Netflix's social media with the same phrase over and over: blame the storytellers. By the end of that week, Henry Cavill had done what no actor had managed to do before. He'd turned an entire fandom against one of the biggest entertainment giants in the world. And somehow, he did it with just a single sentence. But as his words echoed across the internet, something unexpected started happening. Netflix's empire was beginning to crack from the inside. After Henry's statement went viral, Netflix was in full-blown damage control mode. Meetings were happening daily. Executives were scrambling to contain what insiders described as a creative crisis. For a company that prided itself on on image and innovation, the Witcher fiasco had become an unfixable mess. The backlash was everywhere. Subscribers began tagging Netflix in posts saying they'd canceled their memberships out of protest. Memes comparing Netflix's Witcher to AI-generated fantasy dominated Twitter and Reddit. Even people who hadn't watched the show were now weighing in. It became cultural commentary. Behind closed doors, internal leaks painted an even uglier picture. Some writers reportedly quit the team, frustrated that Netflix refused to take accountability. A few sources claimed tension had been building long before Henry's exit, that his warnings about tone and lore had been ignored for years. It was now impossible to deny he'd been right all along. As for Liam Hemsworth, his silence spoke volumes. Insiders said he felt trapped, embarrassed by the backlash, but still trying to stay professional. Fans began to see him differently. Instead of roasting him, they started sympathizing. They realized he'd been thrown into a war he never asked for. In a strange twist, Henry's honesty actually saved Liam's reputation. But Netflix wasn't so lucky. Every attempt to defend their creative vision backfired. Fans didn't want excuses. They wanted accountability. And the moment Henry's quote hit the press, people started demanding names. Who approved these changes? Who decided to rewrite entire characters? Why did the show drift so far from what fans loved? The company's silence only made it worse. You could almost feel the panic behind the scenes. Rumors swirled about possible reboots, creative overhauls, even talks of ending The Witcher after season 5 altogether. But by then, it didn't matter. The damage was done. The name The Witcher had become synonymous with creative failure. And through it all, Henry Cavill stood untouched, admired, respected, vindicated. Fans started calling him the real White Wolf, saying he had slain the corporate beast that ruined their favorite show. By the end of that month, one thing was crystal clear. Netflix may have owned the rights to The Witcher, but Henry Cavill owned its legacy. And no matter how many times they replaced Geralt, they could never replace him. But the story doesn't quite end there, because whispers began to spread that Henry's next move might be the biggest twist of all. Just when the storm seemed to settle, something unexpected started circulating online. A few insider accounts, the kind that had leaked accurate information before, began hinting that Netflix might be trying to bring Henry Cavill back, not as Geralt, but in an entirely different way. At first, it sounded impossible. Henry had made his stance clear. He was done with The Witcher, but the rumors wouldn't fade. Anonymous sources claimed that Netflix executives had reached out to Henry's team after the season 5 chaos, proposing a limited-run spin-off or even a cinematic conclusion featuring his version of Geralt, a kind of redemption arc for the franchise. Fans went wild. Threads exploded with theories. Would Henry agree to return? Would it be a multiverse storyline? Or maybe a prequel that restored the original tone of the series? Then came a cryptic twist. Henry posted a photo on his Instagram story, a shot of an old, worn sword resting on a table with no caption. That single image reignited the fandom overnight. People flooded social media, convinced it was a hidden message. Was it a tease, a hint, a final goodbye? The speculation took on a life of its own. YouTube channels broke down the image, comparing the hilt to his original Witcher sword. Fan pages claimed insiders confirmed negotiations were in early discussion. Others said Netflix was desperate to repair its image and that Henry was their only hope. Meanwhile, official sources stayed quiet. No confirmation, no denial. But that silence only made the theory grow. Fans began rallying under a new hashtag, Cavill is the Witcher. Even industry analysts started noticing the power shift. One actor had more influence than the studio that created the show. Netflix could replace faces, writers, and entire storylines, but they couldn't replace the feeling Henry Cavill had given the audience. He'd become more than a character. He was the soul of the franchise. And deep down, fans knew something that Netflix had forgotten long ago. You can't write magic into a script. You have to believe in it. And Henry Cavill, more than anyone else, still believed. Which brings us to the question everyone's been asking since this chaos began. Was Henry's confrontation really the end of his Witcher story, or the beginning of something bigger? At the end of the day, Henry Cavill's confrontation with the Witcher creators wasn't about ego or fame or reclaiming a role. It was about something much deeper. It was about integrity, about standing up for a story that meant something to millions of fans and refusing to watch it crumble under corporate decisions and careless writing. Netflix may own the rights, but Henry owns the heart. His quiet defiance, his refusal to sugarcoat the truth, reminded everyone what it means to care about your craft. In a world where studios chase algorithms instead of art, Henry Cavill became the rare voice saying, "This isn't about content, it's about storytelling." And now the franchise sits at a crossroads. Season 5 is in limbo, the fan base is divided, and the company's reputation has taken a hit it may never recover from. But somewhere in the middle of all this chaos, a question still lingers. If Henry Cavill ever stepped back into Geralt's boots, even for one final ride, would fans forgive everything that happened? Because here's the truth. Every empire, no matter how powerful, eventually faces its reckoning. Netflix built The Witcher into a global phenomenon, but it was Henry Cavill who gave it soul. And without him, that soul has started to fade. Maybe that's why his story resonates so deeply. Because it's not just about an actor and a role. It's about loyalty, passion, and the courage to speak out when everyone else stays silent. Whether he returns or not, Henry Cavill's mark on The Witcher will never fade. His confrontation didn't just call out bad writing. It exposed what happens when studios forget why stories matter in the first place. So maybe, in a way, Henry already already won. He didn't need a contract or a new season. His victory was reminding millions of fans what The Witcher was always supposed to be, a world built on honor, depth, and truth. And as for Netflix, they can replace actors, rewrite scripts, and launch spin-offs, but they'll never recreate what Henry Cavill brought to that world. Because no matter how many times they try to resurrect The Witcher, fans will always remember one thing. There was only one true Geralt of Rivia, and his name was Henry Cavill.